Hello and welcome. My name is Mary DeBono, and I'm so excited you're here. I have a simple brain hack that I want to share with you that can help improve your confidence in any situation, especially good for riders. So many people tell me that they feel anxious when they're doing certain things with their horse, whether it's cantering, jumping, going out on trail, what have you. So, before we get started with the brain hack, let me say that it's super important, critical actually, that you make sure that your horse is appropriate for you and that you get in person qualified help, training help. Okay, that's really important. We're not talking about issues where, you shouldn't just try to force yourself to go out on trail or jump or canter your horse when the situation is unsafe. So, let's start out with that. But a lot of people over the years have told me that, like, over time, they just started to get a little more anxious, a little more tense, and, they've ascertained that their horse is perfectly suitable for them and they have, good training on site, et cetera, et cetera. And this little brain hack can really help. And by the way, this applies to everything. It doesn't even have to be related to horses. You can do this for anything where you want to feel more competent, more resourceful, more confident. So, for example, I use it when I'm about to go speaking in public, whether it's, back in the day when we actually went out into events and went on stage, that type of thing. But even if I'm doing a large, online event and I'm feeling a little nervous, I have my little hack that I use before I start my presentations. So, let me start out by saying that we all have what we call anchors. Okay, so if you hear a particular jingle on I was going to say on the radio, but I don't know if people listen to the radio anymore, on Spotify, what have you, online somehow you hear something, a commercial, and it sparks a memory, right? Or what they're about to say next, right? There's some kind of anchor there. There's some kind of trigger, if you will, that creates a response in you. Okay, it's you've been able to associate a jingle, for example, with something, right? Or it could be like the smell of cooking, like certain smells bring you right back to your childhood, right? For me, a big one, a really, really positive anchor that I have is the smell of freshly cut lumber. I just love that smell. And that goes back to when I was a teenager and we were building our first barn, finally was getting my own horse, a horse for the family. We were so excited. We're building a barn on this property my parents had bought, and it was a total dream come true. So that smell became associated with an extremely positive event. And to this day, right, every time I smell freshly cut lumber, I'm like, oh, transported right back to that wonderful, happy time. So that's an example of an anchor. Okay. You might, hear a certain song on the radio that brings you back to a memory of a summer you spent that was really fun. You had certain friendships you made, maybe you were out on the beach. And so it takes you right back to that. So what we want to do here to help you be more confident is create our own anchors for a particular state. Because we also have anchors that are not so good for us, right? You might hear something, maybe it's a song for you that takes you to a sad time, right? Or, a stressful time. So there's certainly, positive states and more negative states. And we can choose. The beauty of this work that I love so much is that you start to realize that you're in control of how you feel. You can change things. You don't have to be at the mercy of external and, circumstances. You can maintain control of your state. When I say state, I mean, how you feel, how, your emotions. Okay. So let's start by, number one, picking what we call an anchor. So an anchor, like I said, could be anything. Could be, it could be a smell, it could be a sound, right? Like a jingle, a song. It could be a physical thing, like a certain touch, right? It could be any number of things. However, um, for the sake of convenience, we find that using something physical, like a very particular touch, for example, is the best kind of anchor because you can do that anywhere, right? You don't have to think about playing a song, getting the song, or having a certain scent or anything like that, right? You can just do the touch. So it has to be something you can readily do, and it has to be something that's non-habitual. Okay, so you wouldn't want to do something that, a touch that you felt all the time. Like even something like shaking hands, although we're not shaking hands that much these days with the pandemic, but that's something that's like a very common thing, right? So you already have certain neurology around that. So what you want to do is find something that's a little different. So for me, and this is a common one a lot of my clients use, is like the fist pump. And okay, and let me say, if you constantly do the fist pump, that may not be the best anchor for you, okay? But it wasn't something I did, right? So it was a great one for me. And, when I talk to my clients, many of them don't normally do it. So we chose that. The other thing is the way I do it and the way I often recommend it is to have your thumb inside the finger. So I'm trying to find the camera here. Okay. So instead of being like this, you're like this. Okay. The thumb is inside. So it's a little different. And I also pair it with the word yes. And it could be out loud or it could be to myself. I say that. So it's very much like a yes. And in my case, I do it with my left arm. You don't have to, you can choose, but you have to be specific. So if you decide to do it with your right, make sure then when you use the anchor that you do it with the right hand. Okay. So let's say you don't want to do the fist pump. That's fine. You can touch a very specific knuckle. Okay. But again, has to be specific. So remember which one you're touching and do that. Maybe you want to pull on your earlobe. Again, be specific. It has to be exactly the same place on the earlobe and the same ear. So whatever it is, for my riders, I sometimes give them a couple of different suggestions, like something that they don't have to take their hands off the reins. So even though this sounds a little nuts, I say, touch your tongue to a specific tooth. So you decide what tooth that is, but then it has to be that specific tooth. So you take a moment, you touch your tongue to it, and then you stop. That could be an anchor. Or a very slow, deliberate blinking of your eyes. Okay. That could be an anchor. So there's, even like a really deep breath. But again, you want to do something that's novel, it's non-habitual, and that then your brain can associate it with the positive confident state. Okay, so take a moment, decide on an anchor. And by the way, you don't have to be stuck with this anchor. If you decide you don't like it later, you can just do the process over again and pick a different anchor. So don't worry, pick something right now. And so we can practice this together. Okay, so now you have your anchor, and we're going to do what we call fire the anchor. Fire the anchor just means you do the anchor and you do it for like 3 seconds. So whether it's a touch or whatever, you're going to do it for 3 seconds and then release. And generally what we're going to do also is as we go through this, your eyes will be closed. So obviously you're not going to be looking at the screen, right? There's nothing to see here. And you're not driving or riding or doing anything like that where it'd be unsafe to have your eyes closed. Okay. So only do this if it's easy and safe to have your eyes closed. So pick your anchor. You have your anchor. No, you know what it's going to be. So now if you would just please close your eyes and take a moment to go back in time, right? It could be 20 years ago. It could be this morning. It could be yesterday, whenever. But to a time where you felt totally and utterly confident. You were just felt super competent, resourceful. And it could be in any subject. It could be maybe you were doing a work presentation, you were helping a friend, you were doing a sport. Could be with your horse, doesn't have to be. Again, it could be anything. It's just what's important is that you had the feeling of confidence. Right? You were feeling really good and you were feeling very confident. Okay. So take yourself back to that time. And now Really relive it. So through your own eyes. This is important, right? You don't want to be watching a movie of yourself being confident. You want to be reliving it yourself. So you're seeing whatever you were seeing at that moment, you're seeing it now through your own eyes, okay? And make it big and bright. So we want to turn up the volume on the experience, okay? So it feels really, really good. So notice if there are any sounds associated, right? And if there are, again, turn up the volume, intensify the experience. Okay, we're creating an association with your neurology here. So this is important, right? If there are any smells, again, bring them up, bring them really into your awareness right now. Okay. Now, notice how you feel physically. How are you breathing? What do you feel? Are you touching something? And if you are, what does it feel like? Again, we want to intensify this experience. So go through all your senses and really, magnify them. Again, you're going to recreate this experience of being really, really confident. And then when you feel like you have that, you're right at the peak where you're feeling really good. You've intensified the experience. Right? Fire your anchor. Again, that means do your fist pump, pull on your earlobe, whatever your anchor is, do it for 3 seconds, let it go, and then open your eyes and just look around for a moment. Okay? We call that opening your eyes and looking around, we call that breaking state, right? So we got you very much into that peak confident, emotional state, right? You associated with your anchor by touching in that particular way, whatever you chose. And then we just kind of clear the slate. Okay. We kind of just give you a little interrupt. Okay. So now we're going to do it 2 more times. Okay. So come up with a different experience of feeling confident. Okay. So it's something else. Again, doesn't have to be horse related. It could be whatever you want. Okay, so take a moment, think back to a time when you felt really, really confident, right? Resourceful, competent. Maybe you were helping a friend, maybe you were fixing your car, right? Maybe you figured out some computer problem you were having, right? Or maybe you were riding your horse and you just felt so incredibly confident as you're cantering across a field. Whatever it is, just go back to that time and relive it through your own eyes, okay? Through your own eyes. And magnify the experience, right? You want to be right there again. You want the colors to be big and bright, right? Whatever sounds you hear, turn up the volume. Whatever smells there are, bring them even to a higher intensity. Right? Any physical sensations, please magnify them. Really notice them. Bring them into your awareness right now. Right? If you're riding your horse, what does your horse feel like under you? Right? How are you breathing? Are you smiling? What are you doing in that moment? Again, you want to really intensify it. And then when you feel like, wow, you're really right there again, fire your anchor, whatever your anchor is, do it for 3 seconds. And then release it and open your eyes and just look around. Good. So now those were 2 experiences of confidence we did. We have 1 more to go, right? This is going to really solidify your anchor to feeling confident. So now go back in your memory bank, find another time, different time, when you were feeling really and utterly confident. Okay, it was just such a good feeling, so positive and wonderful. So find that feeling, that experience, and again, relive it. See it through your own eyes. Notice what you felt. How did your body feel? Magnify those sensations. Okay, really dial them up. Notice what you were seeing, make the colors big and bright, what you were hearing, turn up the volume, what you were smelling, If there was taste involved, certainly bring that in. Okay. Go through the senses and really think about this. Really take the time to do this because the words are really powerful. Good. So now when you feel like you're really at that peak, you're just back in that state of being totally confident, fire your anchor, right? For 3 seconds, you're going to hold it and then open your eyes and look around. Good. Make sure you're breathing. Okay. So now you've done a really good job of, anchoring yourself, anchoring that physical sensation, whatever it is, to that confident state. So now we're going to test your anchor. Okay. And you're going to discover how things that used to bother you no longer do bother you. Okay, so now we're going to test your confident anchor, okay? And you can do that by just noticing, like, think about a situation that normally would have bothered you. Okay, so kind of like put yourself back in, into that situation. And then do your anchor, whatever your anchor is, fire it, hold it for 3 seconds, let it go, and see how you feel. Notice how you can keep this wonderful, resourceful, confident state despite what's happening in the outside world, that you can just maintain this. So, this is like your little brain hack that you can pull out anytime you just need that extra little boost of confidence, just a little reminder that you are an incredibly resourceful person and that you have confidence. Okay. It's not something that you have to go out and shop on Amazon for. You have confidence. And it's a matter of being resourceful, which you are because you watched this video and you created your confidence anchor, which is a wonderful resource to have in your back pocket. So let me know how you play with this. Let me know what how you've used it. You can reach out to me at mary@marydebono.com or DM me on Facebook. We also have a free Facebook group called Happy Healthy Horsewoman. You could find me there. And there's all kinds of free stuff there that's really fun. And if you haven't done my free rider awareness exercises that are Feldenkrais, please go do that. That's free. And that could help you be a more secure and balanced and confident in the saddle. And that you could find those at marydebono.com/rider. So thank you so much for being here. I so enjoy sharing this information with you, and I look forward to seeing you again. Bye for now.